Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Final hour as we broadcast from Irving, Texas. Our friends over at Salem hosting us today. Mark Davis from right next door over at 660 AM. The Answer joining me in the I guess guest studio.
That's right.
Yeah,
we did this just for you.
Thank you very much, Mark. How's it go? How are things going?
It's amazing. And as I mentioned, and everybody, if they want to hit 660amtheanswer.com and listen to the podcast of the show that I just completed, where you came in and visited with me at the beginning of the 8 o'clock hour, simply fantastic. We're walking on air. It was an amazing night last night. We're so glad that you were able to be here and be a part of it.
Yeah, and you know, it was really cool being there on the floor, surrounded by press who, as I told the audience earlier, they weren't exactly the happiest people, most of the press right around me. But the audience, the crowd was into it. You were in a different part of the arena. What was that like for you?
I was in several different parts of the arena, and here's why. I had it's kind of funny. I scored VIP status, whatever that even means. Okay. So you got that. I brought my wife with me and we arrive, and the seats were really good and really close and behind the stage. Behind the stage. Now, if you ever watch a Trump rally, you see all those people who are behind him and go, man, those are good seats. Those are terrible seats. Can't see diddly. So I looked at Lisa. She looked at me and said, you can have this VIP thing. I'm going out with the real people. And not that there weren't real people at VIP, but we went to the 200 level. I went up to the rafters.
Yeah.
You know, the cheap seats for the Mavericks. But it was one of the best seats for looking out at this expanse of people. And then once the president started, we sort of wheedled our way around, kind of orbited, popped in a couple of areas from the concourse level, and then found like 4 people who got up and all went and got pizza or whatever. I don't know. But I said, well, if they come back, but they didn't come back. So we plunked ourselves down about halfway up on the side, had magnificent seats and watched it. And I was just I looked at one direction. There's the president, just sort of pivot my head a little bit. And there's the majority of a 20,000 strong crowd. It was simply, I mean, my expectations were high. We knew what was coming, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it was somehow bigger. It was somehow more. It was somehow even more special than I envisioned.
Yeah, it was an all-day party. Everybody was happy. Everybody was excited. I did feel bad for the president at one time, and that was when he pointed to Ivanka. Because if you noticed, everybody on the floor, they turned around because they wanted a selfie with Ivanka. Right. And they it's like they wanted to tell the president, hey, can you pause, time out, because Ivanka's over here and, sorry.
She's a little busy.
Yeah, can we get a picture with Ivanka? And that was cool. That's because, awesome. She's loved. And then I also felt really good after the speech for Ted Cruz. Because Ted Cruz, the arena loved Ted Cruz. They gave him a great amount of applause. There are some people trying to do the Cruz chant.
I know. For 2 seconds, did you turn to your buddy and go, are they booing?
I did. Yes, I did. Yeah, for a half second, I went, ooh, wait, oh. But then you had Ted Cruz, and the crowd afterwards swarmed to Ted Cruz to get autographs and pictures, and that had to be a great moment for him.
It is, and it's called conservatives showing love to other conservatives. This should not be complicated. But in the Trump era, for some people, things have been complicated. They were rivals. They were bitter rivals. We were down to the last 2. It was Trump, Cruz. Remember who the third person was? That useless John Kasich. That's what was going on as we went in. Sorry. That's what we...
No, it's true.
Not sorry.
I did forget about that guy, actually.
He was so easily forgettable. So we get to Indiana in May, and Trump stops Ted, and so Ted gets out of the race. It took me about a millisecond to go from being a Cruz guy to being a Trump guy. Others took a little longer. One of those people was Ted, and I totally understand that. But I asked him a number of times, is this personal? Is it because Trump said some stuff about you? There's a really bad tweet about Heidi that whatever, your dad. He said it's not about any of that. Ted had serious doubts whether President Trump would govern as constitutionally as a Ted Cruz would require. He now sees what is in front of everybody's face, has come around. Their relationship is fantastic. And these are good times in Texas.
You asked me when I was on with you about the Lubbock audience and about their support for President Trump. Mm-hmm. I'll ask you the same question for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. What is that like? I mean, we saw it yesterday at the AAC, but this is a much more diverse voting area than West Texas.
Let me share you a little bit of my story, because we're down here, and obviously conservative show, conservative station, conservative company. That's the lightning, that's usually going to strike. But I've always, in all my years of radio, and it's 26 of them here now almost, I've said, look, if you disagree with everything I say, call me. Let's work this out. We may not agree on stuff, but we'll have clarity on where we all stand. And so I get probably a disproportionate, and by that I mean more, if maybe 10, 15% of the listeners disagree with me on stuff, but they listen anyway, which is an honor. Maybe 20% of the callers do. So I'll get folks from inner city Dallas or southeast Fort Worth, or liberals from up in the college town of Denton at UNT, and it's respectful and it's civil and I love it, but they are stone cold liberal. And I also get calls from the occasional Republican who just for some reason still can't handle Trump.
Yeah.
What's the matter with you? And I say it lovingly, but what is the matter with you? I told people, if somebody's on the phone with me and says, I don't like Trump because I'm liberal and I believe in weak borders and I don't believe in protecting the unborn and I don't think taxes are high enough, I say, okay, we disagree, but at least you're clear on what you believe. These Republicans, these never Trumpers, these chowderheads, I said, how can you espouse a shred of conservatism and look, you don't have to love everything about Trump, but on balance, please, aren't things going well? Yeah. So I get a little bit of everything and I love it because that gives me a chance to sort of gently, civilly, and always with good humor, make a few points.
Well, and what we hear about a lot in West Texas is the changing suburban areas out here. What was the Beto? Do you think the Beto, and I think it was just a perfect timing, bad campaign being run by Ted Cruz. It was lightning in a bottle almost, as some would say. Now we're not going to see that again. That some of these counties that switch went a little purple. I think they're going to come back. What do you think?
Absolutely correct. Let us stipulate that Cornyn, who has been great in the Trump era, could we have found some calls on the Chad Hasty Show, circa 2013, 2014, 2015, where people might have had a gripe or two with Cornyn? Maybe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
When's the last time that happened?
Oh, I still get it. This is how red West Texas is.
Me too. I get it too. But these are folks who are living in the pre-Trump era. Or the PTE, as we call it. They're living in the pre-Trump era. Cornyn has been golden. Trump makes everybody better. Everybody, if you've got the eyes to see, the brain to absorb, and the spine to carry the load. Cornyn has been great. That's the reality now. And I hear people beefing and fussing. Local state senator Pat Fallon, whom I love, thought about primarying Cornyn. I said, Pat, I love you. This is stupid. Yeah. Number one, you're going to get killed. You're going to get totally rolled. And number two, it distracts us with time, money, and heart space for what we really need to focus on, and that's getting Cornyn a double-digit lead so we can stop all this nonsense about purple Texas and Texas being in play.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. There's just so much. I could pick your brain on a lot of different issues, but I do want to ask you, because you've been covering a lot with this, with the Bonin, Sullivan, Burroughs audio. Do the listeners care? Do the people care about this?
This is a weird answer, but I think you'll know what I mean. The people who care.
Right.
You know what I mean? But how many of those are there? In your listenership right now, in my listenership here in DFW, we have some political junkies who live for this, the intrigue, et cetera, et cetera. What's going to guide this story is how many people just live in life, putting on their pants, going to work, raising the kids. Are they all worked up about the Michael Quinn Sullivan Bonin tape? The vast majority are not. This is why Bonin certainly he's not going to resign. That's just not going to happen. He's going to be reelected. But will he be speaker anymore? When's that vote? It's 1,000,000 years from now. It's January of 2021. Is that time for him to be redeemed? Time for him to repair his image? Michael Quinn Sullivan himself was on the show with me the other day and said, I'm not calling for him to resign, but we need to pay attention to swamp-like behavior, need to pay attention to ethics. Is Dennis Bonin's lesson learned? We'll see. Last thing on this, a lot of people go, we need a more conservative speaker than Bonin. We need a guy who's not okay, but once he's gone, into that vacancy. Who knows? Do we get another Joe Strauss?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to get a solid, Tea Party Speaker of the House.
Well,
so I don't know where any of that goes.
And you've got the House is so close right now that it's hard to imagine a much more, and then this is something that's been talked about, I know, it's going to be hard to get someone more conservative than Dennis Monaghan. You look at the check marks that they went through in this session, and this was a pretty, they call it the kumbaya session, a bland session. You could call it that, but the check marks were big check marks, and you're going into redistricting.
Which is vital.
Yeah.
It's vital.
To me, it's all hands on deck, and you better get things straightened out soon.
A chastened Dennis Bonnen who might feel a little scolded and feel that what I need to know is that Dennis Bonnen knows that he deserves the scolding. That is terrible behavior on that tape. That is swamp behavior. He's a snake on that tape. If he can get better, I'm prepared to live with that, but that's going to be up to him.
Yeah. One last thing.
Sure.
I didn't see really any protesters yesterday. I think Antifa showed up for about 30 seconds outside of 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Fox News had an article about, the differences between Dallas and Minneapolis. I'm like, well,
they are many.
Of course. Yeah, there are people who carry here. Why would Antifa show up?
Well, it's funny. Well, let me take you back 4 years. September of 2015, the Trump rally that came here, just a few months after, it was already a huge deal. He was filling arenas, and he filled that same building, AAC. And when we came out, I had my wife and my son, who was 12 at the time. It was loud. It was ugly. It was profane. We walked a wide circle. Nobody's going to throw a brick at our heads, but it was big. It was mean. It was nasty. And that was then. This is now. There's none of it. Now, they also did have a release valve. They had the Beto Fest down there in your old neck of the woods in Grand Prairie.
That's right.
They got every bit of 5,000. I don't sneeze at that.
Yeah.
But they didn't have 50.
No, they did not.
They did not.
You think he could have filled up Cowboy Stadium?
I think the next time we ought to try. That's just 100,000.
Why not?
And let's open the roof so everybody can.
Oh, that'd be great.
It's such a joy to be with you. I'm so proud of you, proud to be your friend. In Lubbock, you are so lucky to have this man. It's just an honor to be on here.
Mark Davis, thank you very much. Appreciate it.